Hi, I'm Nino Gonzalez, and welcome to another episode of Making Sense. Well, today we are continuing with student questions. I just have been bombarded with so many questions from students and good ones. So this time I brought in two El Paso Community College students to help me go through some of these questions, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Amy Jane Powers, and I'm on my last year here at El Paso Community College. I'm majoring in business management.
Okay.
And I'm Brando Duarte. This is my second year here at Community College, and my major is in business management, hoping to focus on human resources.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining me and taking time out of your busy day to film this show and go through some of these questions that you had and some students had, and hopefully we can provide some answers. So why don't we get started, Amy Jane?
Right. My first my first question is, what steps can I take now to increase my chances of getting the job that I want?
Okay, so well, let me flip that around. And what do you think you need to do to increase your chances of getting a job?
I definitely think education or any outside knowledge that you might already have that can contribute to the job that you're applying for
Right.
would be a good help.
Well, one of the suggestions that I would make, especially since both of you are still students here at El Paso Community College, is to use the services of Career Services.
Okay.
And that's a department that we have, and they're at every campus. And basically what they do is they can take a look at your resume, they can provide any feedback and help you correct it to the best possible perfect manner that it can be, because remember, the resume is the first reflection that the prospective employer is going to see about you. And that's got to be as perfect, I would say not as perfect as possible. It has to be exactly perfect.
Yeah.
So use those services of the Department of Career Services to help them structure your resume in a correct way and to tailor it to the industry that you're going into. Now, another thing is also you got to develop a cover letter to go with your resume and highlighting a little bit more that is what is in your resume. So cover letter, you're going to introduce yourself, you're going to tell them that you're interested in the job, and then expand a little bit more on what makes you qualified and why they should hire you. And the resume is basically just a summary of what is it that you've done, including your education and your work experience. Now, they can also help you in developing that cover letter and making it we don't want to just have a generic cover letter. We can tailor it to the employer that we're going to be applying to even better. Right. Another thing is to network. That's usually one of the best things in getting a job. Network with individuals that you know. Let them know that you're looking for a job. Let your professors know that you're looking for a job. Maybe get involved with you're saying you're going into human resources. You might want to take a look at the student chapter of human resource management and start networking there so you can build contacts, because sometimes that's also one of the better opportunities to get a job. So networking is a big thing, and let people know that maybe are working in human resources. That could be family members or that could be instructors or professors, and let them know that you're looking for a job, and they might be able to direct you to the right individuals. Another thing is practicing your interviewing skills. And Career Services does do mock interviews, and they'll tape you, like if it's an actual interview, and then they'll view it with you and tell you what is it that you did right and what is it that you did wrong, because many of us freeze up when we go into that interviewing section. So that's the best thing, that's the best advice that I can give you in doing that. And of course, if you can enhance what you're learning here at the college and maybe getting some type of volunteer position where you can apply that knowledge, that will also help you land the job that you want, and hopefully you can get where you want to be.
So pretty much experience, right?
Well, it's not just a factor of experience, but it's your education and how you present yourself. Usually, a lot of employers go through so many resumes, and they usually do a quick scan, and if that resume doesn't look appropriate or correct, they'll just toss it. So that first resume and that cover letter have to be perfect, and that's your intro, because they don't know you. And of course, if you're networking, well, now they might have a lead into who you are, and you might be able to get that interview that you want.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really play into experience, but it plays on how well you present yourself.
Okay.
Okay.
And can I add on to that?
Sure.
You did mention the Career Services has that mock interview. I actually did use that service.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, like like you said, it's very helpful because they critique you and can tell you what you should work on, things you might not want to say. And
were you surprised by the results?
I really was surprised. So it kind of took away a little bit of nervousness because, you don't really want to show that you're, I guess, nervous, but at the same time, you can't help it. So
And it also helps to see the facial expressions that you're making, whether you're playing with your hands and the nervousness and
they tell you
and all of that.
posture
Yes.
and everything.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
I thank you for that. My second question would be, why should I automate my finances?
Okay, well, automating your finances is, and now with the technology we have, we can have more control of our money and know where it's going. So the first thing that I would suggest is, of course, have a checking or a savings account. I think most of us have a checking account, and let's set it up with direct deposit from your employer. That's one way of automating it. And then try and get some of these apps that are out there. There's a lot of free apps that can help you track your finances, and you can budget for the different expenditures that you have with the paycheck that comes in. So that way you're going to be able to cover all the expenditures that you have with your paycheck and possibly have some left over to save or maybe even start investing. But the first thing I would suggest is you set up that direct deposit, and let's see if we can right away, once you get that paycheck, have either the credit union or the bank that you're doing business with take that money out, some money out for savings. Maybe $50, maybe $100. If you can, maybe let's say 10% of your paycheck. So if your paycheck is $500, right away take away how much? 50, and let's put it into savings. And because out of sight, out of mind. And you automate these finances. Not only that, but let's try and automate our credit card payments. So that way, even if it's the minimum, you can go back in there and make more of a payment. But what if you forget? You've got a test coming up, you've got a project due, you've got a speech to do, or whatever, and then you say, "Oops, I forgot to make that payment." But if you at least automate it and you make the minimum, at least you avoid maybe a hike in the interest rate, or maybe those additional charges.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you all have these finances automated like that, or?
I do, yes.
You do? And what do you use, if you don't mind me asking?
Like my bank?
Or what app do you use, or what software do you use to track that?
Well, I actually don't have it tracked, but I do have all my finances taken out of my bank account.
Okay.
So as soon as they're due, I have them automated. Just because I'm being a college student, I'm a little irresponsible, and I tend to forget what day my payment is due or when it's due. So I just have it put on a certain day. Whenever, let's say they give me a credit card and they tell me your payment is due on this day, that same day I make it automated just so it can be taken out right away.
And then that way, if you want to make an extra payment, you can, but at least you avoid
that
extra service charge, the late fee, or maybe a rate hike.
Yeah.
Well, good. And so has that helped you a lot?
Very much, yes.
Okay. Amy, anything on like that, or?
Yes, it helps a lot, especially I have a little one at home. It helps. Things slip your mind. You get caught up in your daily routine, and you don't want to avoid any credit card fees, especially.
I have to go to the bank, and you have to go
run around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it makes it a lot easier.
definitely
So the more we can automate those finances, and now we can even have them at the touch of our phone with our smartphones, and view what we have. So great.
It's one less worry.
Okay.
Yeah. A question I have for you are, what are the 2 best suggestions for building and maintaining a good credit rating?
Okay. What do you think that might be? Let me ask you, what does your common sense tell you?
So from what I've heard, or what they've told me, is payments that have to be on time.
Okay, that's a big one. That's one of the ones that I was gonna say is make your payments on time, and one of the ways you can do that is through the last question is automating, even if it's a minimum payment.
Another one would be make a bigger payment than your minimum.
Okay.
That's what I've heard as well. And that's pretty much about about it.
Okay. And another thing is that don't overextend yourself. We don't want to be in debt too much more than 30% of our credit limit. So if, let's say your credit limit is 1,000 on a card, and so we don't want to be over 300 on that, because the closer you get, that does affect your credit score. So we don't want to be too overextended in our credit, because that shows that we might have difficulty in managing our money and we're overextending ourselves in using credit. So we want to keep that credit utilization to 30% or below if possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've also heard that having your credit cards at the maximum is really bad.
Yes, it is. It does affect your credit score, but I think also what affects it more negatively are the late payments.
Yeah.
So even if you're maxed out, let's say on one, I think the late payments are going to affect you even more.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I see.
Yeah,
So let's say even if you're maxed out, but they see a good payment history.
Right.
Is that okay as well?
That's okay. That's okay. And it also depends on the length of time that you've had that credit. And as long as it's showing that it's keeps going down and down and down, then that's a good indicator.
Okay.
Okay.
Another question I have is, how can volunteering and supporting a nonprofit or cause I believe in benefit me?
Well, we touched this in the past, in which volunteering can enhance some of the skills that you're studying. Not only that, it makes you feel good. You know, we were talking earlier that you're going to be participating in a fashion show with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And how does that make you feel, you know, that you're participating with this organization?
It makes me feel very, very good. You know, just the littlest things, even, you know, just the fashion show not being about you, it's about the kids.
Right.
You know, and knowing that everything that you're going to make during the program, I mean, the event is going to go to
Right.
them.
And I also, you were telling me that you're going to be singing at that, you know, and I've heard you sing, and you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you.
But in addition, don't you make some networking there while you're talking to maybe the Make-A-Wish Foundation people or other people that are working on that event?
Yes.
So you start to build contacts, and those contacts might come in later to help you get the job that you want, or maybe put you in touch with somebody who might help you with that.
Yes.
Well, great questions, and we'll continue with more questions on the second half of Making Sense. Welcome back to the second half of Making Sense, and we were going through some questions that El Paso Community College students have, and let's continue on and see if we can get through most of these.
All right. What is the first thing I should do before searching for a job in my chosen career path?
Okay, well, the first thing I would suggest is make sure you're going to do something that you love, and that you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to look forward to going to work, and that it's not, oh, I have to go to work.
Yes.
And so try doing something that interests you, something that you like, and that's something that we have to take into consideration, because a lot of college students, even a lot of older adults, they don't know what they want to do.
Right.
And here we go again with the Career Services Department. They have a career assessment test that you can go in there and tell them, I want to take this, and it asks you about your skills, your interests, what is it that you like to do, and it sort of guides you into areas that might be potential careers for you. So I would really suggest that anybody do that are questioning what they might want to do, because the worst thing that you want to do is go through a degree, and then you don't want to do that.
I think I did that.
You think you did that? In what area?
I had switched. Originally, my minor was interior design. And, you know, being in El Paso, once I actually started taking my classes that pertain to interior design, I realized, well, maybe this is not really what I want to do, or I really don't have, you know, the talent for it.
Right.
So that's when I changed.
And what made you go into business now?
I actually changed my mind to go into business because I felt as though I wanted to own my own business someday and be an entrepreneur,
Okay.
and, you know, pursue that instead of something I really didn't want to
So
do.
did you always know you wanted to be go into business?
No, my first major was actually nursing.
Okay.
I was planning to go into nursing, and then I realized that here in El Paso, everyone also wants to go for nursing, and the waiting list is ridiculously long. So I decided to change my major to business, and I specifically want to focus on HR just because I get bored easily. So HR, I noticed that you can work in any type of field, whether it be in a hospital, in an oil company, in a whatever type of business. You can be wherever
Or
you
at the
want.
college.
Yeah,
You know, we
exactly.
have a human
in the college,
resource.
yes. Every business needs an HR.
Right.
So that's why I chose to take that as my new major.
And how are you liking now that, you know, both of you switch majors? How are you liking the majors that you've chosen based on the courses that you've taken?
I don't like the the accounting part,
Okay.
but I mean
honest.
it's something you have to know, you know, and
Yeah.
it's not only going to benefit me in my workplace, but it's also going to benefit me in my personal life. You know, knowing how to finance your money and stuff like that. So
Okay. Well, you're not the only student that doesn't like accounting. You know, I've been teaching here for over 18 years, and I can tell you, you're not the first one
Yeah.
to be a business major and hate accounting. And as I've said before, and in my classes, accounting is the language of business, and business and accounting go hand in hand. But
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I would definitely suggest, especially, you know, you're coming out of high school, you don't know what is it that you want to go to. I know that now they're trying to pinpoint you into specific areas,
Yeah.
but did you even know what you wanted to do when you graduated high school or even went into college?
No.
A lot of us didn't, and so there's that. You're not the first ones that have decided to switch majors and trying to find what is it that you like and what your interests are. But just find something that you love and that you wouldn't mind waking up every morning and doing that.
And I think the career services, right? It's called the career services. I actually went the other day because I'm transferring to universities. So, and I heard a couple of students, you know, they were taking that exam that you were talking
Right.
about, the career exam, assessment, yes. And they were, I was kind of eavesdropping. And I heard them, you know, oh, well, I thought I would be good at this, but it turns out that I'm not.
Right.
And it just also gives you a wake-up call to universities as well, you know, because there was a lot of them that had this big dream to go to UT or to Texas Tech or, you know, these really big Ivy colleges. And it's just, they realize, you know, oh, my major isn't so good there, or I wouldn't be
A good
best
fit
to
there?
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and that's something else that they do. They have the transfer fairs where we invite several universities from all over to help you guide in the transfer process, not just UTEP, but other universities
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Well, great.
Now to my next question. Once you get that job, how do you improve the credit score?
Okay. Well, one of the things that we talked about in the first half is, of course, pay your bills on time and don't overextend yourself. But why do you want to improve your credit score? Well, so many things are dependent on your credit score. It's going to dictate the house you want to buy. It's going to dictate where you're going to live, because even if you don't buy a house, a lot of apartment complexes check your credit. So it's going to affect that. It's going to affect your insurance rates, because auto insurance and homeowners insurance, they check your credit score, and there is a different scoring module for insurance purposes, but your premiums are based on your credit score. So it affects a whole bunch of things, and so we want to be responsible. We want to be educated about our credit and not overextend ourselves. Now, I know that a lot of students that graduate from high school and get into college, they get that first credit card and they go crazy. And I think we've all gone through that. You know, I did myself, you know, been in credit card hell. But I think that's, a lot of us have to do that sometimes to learn. But some of us don't learn. You know, we still keep on doing it. And we don't want to get to the point of bankruptcy. But here's one thing that I also, a lot of people laugh is that when you're going to go into a relationship, remember the number one breakup of relationship is finances, okay? And before you tie the knot, you know, you need to check
Run his credit score.
No, really, I'm serious. You need to sit down and look at each other's credit reports, because that tells so much about that individual's personal life. And if they're trying to hide something, you know,
Right.
and you're going to tie the knot, that's not the point to do that.
Yeah.
But it's also going to dictate, are we going to be able to get the house that we want, you know, have the lifestyle that we want, and things like that, be able to buy a car, you know,
Yes.
things like that, or, you know, are we going to be
Are we
living with
fighting
our,
all the time?
with our in-laws, you know, because there's a lot of couples that live
Yeah.
with their in-laws, and is that the type of situation that you want? So that's one of the reasons that you need to be careful with your credit and try and maintain that good credit score. Not only that, you'll get the best interest rates when you apply for that house, when you apply for that car. And though you hear on the commercials, you know, to qualified borrowers, 0% interest. Well, that's for those that have
Good
good
credit.
credit scores, okay? Because you
Yes.
go in there and I want that 0% interest, but if you don't have the good credit score, you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
I'm gonna put on my Facebook status. I'm not marrying you unless you have a 700.
Or writing a prenup.
All right.
So for my next question is, how do I get my credit started?
Okay, and that's a lot of college students, especially they're graduating from high school, they don't have any credit. So what I suggest is get the easiest credit that you can, and that would be maybe a gas card. You know, with maybe Shell or Valero or any of the major oil companies, or maybe a department store card, and apply for those because those are relatively easy to get. Now, once you get it, you know, use it and pay it off. Use it and pay it off, and then you'll start building your credit, and then pretty soon, probably within 6 to 8 months, you're going to start getting offers in the mail from credit card companies such as Visa, Discover, American Express, and then that's where you have to use your judgment. What is it that you want to apply for, and what do you want to use, and so forth. And so many students get into trouble with that. So we got to be careful about what is it that we apply. But the only way we're going to get credit is if we have credit.
Yeah.
So that's the easiest way to get started is to get a gas credit card or a department store card, you know, and they might give you a limit of maybe 800 or 1,000, and you know, use it to put gas in your car, and then pay it off every month. And after a while, you start building that credit and your credit score, and that's the easiest way I can tell you to do that. A lot of them, you know, they want to have their parents co-sign. I don't agree. Never co-sign for anybody because either you're not going to have that family member or friend anymore, and it can also ruin your credit as well if they don't keep up with the payments. Okay.
Good advice.
Another question I have is, how do I decide how much coverage I need when selecting car insurance?
Oh, when selecting car insurance, well, first of all, you got to check with the state that you live in. Every state has different limits of liability. Of course, in Texas, you got to be informed about at least the minimum amount of coverage that you must have. And the only thing we must have here is liability insurance.
Liability.
But we also got to be aware of underinsured and uninsured motorists. That might be another coverage that we might want to add, especially since we live in a border area and a lot of people don't have insurance. So if you get into an accident with somebody that is not covered, that doesn't have any insurance, you would be covered under uninsured motorist. So that's also an important coverage to have. And underinsured, of course, that means they don't have the proper amounts of liability, or they have very low liability limits, and the accident was worth more. Of course, if you have a newer car, you're probably going to have, and you're financing it, you're probably going to have full coverage.
Yeah.
And so, again, how are those rates going to be affected? Through your credit score. That's something that we talked about. But talk to your friends. You know, I think that's the best way to get advice, is talk to your friends and see the companies that they deal with. Maybe talk to an insurance professional. You know, I'm not an insurance professional. I'm just giving general advice here. But those are the things that I would suggest. And make sure you pick appropriate amounts of liability, because here in Texas, that's the minimum. But that might not be enough. And really, when you raise those limits of liability, it doesn't really add too much to your premium.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, but that's one thing that I would suggest. Talk to your friends and see what the claim responses are. See if they're going to raise your rate after the first accident, or if there's accident forgiveness. And you know, there's so many things out there, and I'm sure you've all heard a dozen commercials out there for auto insurance.
Every day.
And why is it that when you get a brand new car, you have to get full coverage?
Well, because if you pay for it,
Yeah.
cash, You
Oh,
don't.
okay.
Okay.
I
But
see.
But
the
if you're
banks.
financing it through a credit union or a bank, well, the credit union or the bank is the one that's requesting that, because if it gets stolen or you total it, they're the ones that are going to get paid, because they're
okay, I see.
basically the ones that
The
are own the
own-
car. Yeah, that's
okay,
why.
I see.
Okay.
Okay, that's good to know because I didn't even know that. I have a question about social media.
Okay.
Now, why should I, not necessarily I, but why should people be careful on what they post on social media?
Well, social media is now part of, I guess, everyone's life, especially the younger generation.
That's what I
Like
was-
you all. I'm pretty sure you're all on social media.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's not just Facebook. There's Twitter. There's Instagram. There's Tumblr.
Everything.
There's
Snapchat,
everything. Okay, so I don't
There's
know.
no filters now. There isn't.
So anyways, a lot of, especially, you were asking, what should I do about before I go get a job? Well, make sure that your social media accounts
clean.
are clean, are clean,
Yeah.
or you've put, some privacy on there, because they'll probably, even before you get interviewed, or when they look at that resume and they look at you as a potential candidate, they might do a search
Yes.
and see what comes up on you. And that might keep you from getting the job that you want. Not only that, even if you already have a job, they could check your social media. I know that some of the school districts, they check teachers' Facebook accounts or social media accounts to make sure that they're not acting inappropriately, compared to how they're supposed to be acting in the classroom or things like that. So it's real important that we're careful about what we do on that, and if we're going to do that, set some privacy or set some, who can look at that and who cannot look at that.
Right.
Okay?
All right.
Yeah.
So-
That's very important. It's not just for your workplace. It's for anything you're on. For example, I'm an EPCC cheerleader.
Okay.
And they take into very big consideration what it is that you're posting on your social media.
Right, and how you portray yourself,
yes.
because you're representing the college. It's the same as myself, being a professor here at the college, how I represent the college, and am I representing them with integrity?
Yeah.
That's
And
definitely
you have to
right.
also be, you're not a walking, you're somewhat of a, walking billboard. You're a representation of your students and your profession.
Even
You
when
know.
we're not in uniform, we have to be careful about what we
Yeah.
post.
Well, I'm glad they're doing that, and I'm glad they're making you aware of the pitfalls of that. And I guess you better take that picture down, Amy.
I know.
I hope that's not too much of an embarrassment.
Shucks.
Just joking.
Now my husband's gonna be like, well, why did you do that?
Well, you guys had some excellent questions, and we got through most of these. And thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come out. And good thing you mentioned about the cheerleading, but that's also one of the things that prospective employers look at is your extracurricular activity. So try and get involved as much as you can with the college and get that college experience that you want here at EPCC. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Making Sense. Goodbye.